Hello everyone and welcome to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. I'm your host, Yalda Alawi, the founder of the Eat, Burn, Sleep protocol and app, a gut health and anti-inflammation platform which has helped thousands of people around the world reach optimal health levels physically and mentally. In this podcast, I invite various individuals with expertise to share to help you further educate yourself on wellness, physical and mental health. All aspects of health are connected, and I aim to educate you and teach you to tune into your body to become the best version of you inside and out. I hope you enjoy this podcast. Make sure to subscribe and rate it, share it with your friends, and most importantly, keep happy and healthy. Keep listening. I will be sharing a discount code with you at the end of this podcast for the Eat, Burn, Sleep platform memberships. Hi everyone. I'm so excited today because I have the beautiful and very calming Athena Ko with us on the podcast. Hi Athena.
Hi Yalda. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Athena is a meditation teacher, a sound practitioner, a Gong Master, and a yoga teacher. And I have experienced her Gong sound meditation as well as her yoga class, and I can assure you she is different.
That's the word. Different.
So, to give our listeners a bit of background, actually, I was just before we started the podcast, I was telling Athena when I met her first. She doesn't remember, but I remember. It was over the summer. There's a spa space in London that offered yoga classes in the most beautiful setting. A friend of mine told me about it. So I decided to go and do yoga. And Athena was the yoga teacher. After the session, I arrived that morning. I was not feeling great. And she put us through a challenging yoga practice. And generally, if I do something too challenging, I can get quite inflamed because any form of pain is seen by the body as an inflammatory trigger. But after that class, I was on a high.
That's great. That's what we want you to feel after class.
I was absolutely on a high. And so I decided to book it again. And I couldn't see her on the schedule anymore. I went to other classes with other teachers. They were okay, but I didn't get that feeling. So I kept asking the reception, when is this woman, Athena Ko, coming back? And I was scoring the internet to try and find another class with you. And I couldn't.
That was my yoga teaching career done.
So I couldn't find it. It was August in London, so maybe you had gone on holidays.
Yes, I have.
Yes.
2 months off.
Exactly. So I couldn't find Athena. Fast forward a few months, my friend Raphael said to me, "Oh, can you come to this Gong meditation with me?" Mm-hmm. And I was not available. But then I looked up your name. I said, "Is this the woman who teaches yoga?" She said to me, "Yes, she's incredible. You've got to meet her." Unfortunately, I couldn't go to that Gong meditation, but I managed to go to another one recently.
Yes, that was a great event. Yes.
I loved it.
Yes. And it was beautiful to have you on the mat. You have great, beautiful energy.
You're so kind to say this.
Now, for every practitioner, it really depends on the day who turns up. It really changes how we deliver, how we sort of facilitate the session. So that session was incredible because we have some really nice energy in the room and people have their presence. Sometimes when you're in a room when there are people very dislocated, unbalanced, then it's a little bit more challenging, but it will be a different way of facilitating as well. So it was wonderful to have you there. It's very anchoring.
That's exactly how I felt. I felt anchored at the end of it. I could feel my feet like stronger into the ground. I could feel the grounding.
The grounding, yes.
It was amazing. It's as if someone had glued my feet to the floor.
Yeah.
It was, but whilst I could move, it was just feeling this anchoring.
Yeah, exactly. While you're standing tall. It's like you are like a little puppet. There's a string attached to the crown of your head and drawing you up, and your feet are firmly rooted on the ground. You are a divine being while rooted in your human experience. Isn't that wonderful?
That's exactly how I felt, a divine being.
We are all divine being, but that's a big topic to talk about.
So Athena, similarly, you had, a bit like me, we have similar kind of trajectories where you used to work on the financial markets.
I did.
So tell us about that and how you switched to doing all these incredibly beautiful things now.
Okay. So I was an analyst on Wall Street and become senior VP ED, as you do, progressing in Wall Street. On top of that, and afterwards, I started a hedge fund with some really prominent people in the financial world. For me, that is great because it engages my brain in a different way. I was classically trained for this kind of career. Everyone tell me this is success. This is what success looks like, feels like. But there is a part of me that always feel, is this it? I mean, I have the best degrees anyone could sort of imagine. I have sort of the kind of careers that a lot of people convert. I have all the things that everyone think you need or will make you happy. But in me, there's always something lacking. I feel there is something that's not being fed and there's something that's not being nourished. And for me, in order to save myself, around 20 years ago when I was like, still just started, I was in New York and I was like down in West Village staying with my friend. I remember the apartment was just above Magnolia Bakery in Bleecker Street. And you can smell the bakery from 3 a.m. And then one day I was like, she was working for a very intense hedge fund as well. And we we're like, we need something. And she's like, you have to try a gong bath. I was like, what on earth is that? And I'm the type of person who hates woo-woo or anything alternative. I think it's just a waste of time, is all snake oil. And I said, yeah, I will go along with it since we have nothing else to do. And we're kind of tired from partying. Look, this is the early 2000s, late 1990s. We work hard, we party really hard. And I was like, okay, let's go and just lie down. And then we went to this session, which is near Columbia University. And we just lie down. This guy who's a professor in ethnomusicology come in, and I didn't know his background. I don't know who he is. We lie down, and I have to say, it's the most transforming experience in my life. I didn't know what happened. I feel there's a general release. My tears are coming out of me. My hips are relaxing. I came out. It was only an hour, but I felt like it was only 5 minutes, and someone flipped a switch for me. I didn't understand it. I cannot explain it. So for me, the analytical mind kicks in. So I had to do my due diligence. So I went down the rabbit hole. I did all the research in the library. I did all the research I could pull out of all the scientific journals, everything. I found my first teacher. For me, it's just a quest for knowledge. And for me, I'm an intensely curious person as well. So I think that curiosity led me from one teacher to another to another. And this is all for myself. I mean, I was never thinking about a teaching career. So when I was at a certain point in my financial career and I had children, and I thought maybe the timing is right. It's also around the time when Gwyneth Paltrow started sort of talking a little bit more. There's more acknowledgement about these alternative practices. It has gone a little bit more mainstream, still not really quite as mainstream as now. And I thought, okay, I've been doing this for myself and I practice the gong. I have everything in my house. I deliver it to my friends when they're receptive to it. One thing is mad until they've tried it. It was still very much sort of like in the shadow of my life. And I was like, maybe I should bring it out because this is what genuinely feeds me, carry me through all the stresses in life. And then in order to do this, I had to do some kind of teacher training because there's no certification for sound practitioners. You'll be surprised to hear that. For me, it was shocking. I mean, it's basically still there's no formal qualification. All the qualifications you see in the market is like 200 hour, it's like a weekend training. It's not quite, I would say, a comprehensive sound practitioner's education. But anyway, so I have to go and teach and I need insurance and all of that. So I need a teaching certificate somewhere. And the only place you can teach at that time are yoga studios. So I went off and do yoga teacher training. I love yoga anyway. And that's how I got started. And then eventually it becomes more and more mainstream. And the studio asked me, Athena, you play the gongs, right? I was like, yes, I do. And then I become the Gong Girl. Everyone started asking, where's that Gong Girl? I mean, like, she sounds great. Where is she? And then I start doing events, and it's just word of mouth. It was organic. It was never a strategy. It was never a business plan. It was never something that I thought is going to scale up and become what it is. And it just happened because I think something deeply resonates with people when you're doing something authentic to yourself, and it's genuinely is a service to other people.
Absolutely. And the only way actually to help people is when there is that authenticity, because we absorb people's vibes. You can see it. You go in a space where, there are bad thoughts or there are consumptions of things. You don't feel good. You can sense it immediately, or I can.
Yeah.
And if people are in a positive, beautiful energy, I get completely transformed by it in a positive manner.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the beauty of teaching. You're a teacher. So when you're in that place, you need to hold space. And when you're holding space, what does holding space mean? I mean, authenticity and holding space are the two most overused words in Instagram wellness. But genuinely holding space, genuinely being empathetic. We are all empathetic creatures, but some of us choose to, because by conditioning, by the things that happen to us, we lose that skill. We are all connected. We are one, as they all said, but everything's vibrational. So sound is a vibration. Our energy is a vibration. Our perception of reality, actually, is only because we have all these chemical reactions within us and electronical signals. So everything is affected by vibrations. So it's not even like a surprise when you can feel the energy of the room changes, whether it's uplifting, whether it's a bit heavy. When I walk into a mental health hospital where I teach, you walk in and generally your energy just go like, okay, this is where people who are very sick lives.
You can
You can immediately feel it. So it's not strange. I mean, we are designed to do that. We're part of nature, and animals have that. And animals can instinctively feel whether they're in danger or something is approaching. So can we. Like if someone's looking at us over our shoulders, whether we're being followed, the first thing people said when they're being stalked is that I feel someone is following me.
It's so true.
Yeah, there you go.
It's so true. I love meditating, and I'm not Christian. I don't practice any religion. But when I walk by churches, because I live in London, and I'm between meetings, if I have 15 minutes to spare, I sit there and I meditate.
So nice.
Because of this beautiful energy, which you find in yoga studios, which have been around for a long time, because so many people prayed or meditated.
Yeah.
It elevates the vibration of the place.
Exactly. It's setting intention or devoting the practice to someone, or having thoughts more aligned to their higher purpose rather than being in the grind, being in the day-to-day. We are sort of the embodiment of our daily experience, rather than when we meditate, we take a step back. We watch our human experience and we understand that, okay, even something we identify so strongly with, our ego, like our name, is just a word given to me. I can change that anytime. Like, you identify yourself as Yalda. I identify myself as Athena. But I can shed that anytime. So it's really wonderful when people tune in and realize there's that core self and there's that higher purpose. And I know this sounds a little bit like sort of out there, but when people tune in, it just really changes the energy of that room. And what we do as sound facilitators, and when you meditate, is to tap into that beautiful space. And then you understand, oh, I'm a divine being having a human experience, and this is what I do. And actually, your past is only alive when you think about it. Your future is only alive when you think about it. All you have is now. And you're perfect.
That's beautiful.
It is true.
But there are indeed so many studies showing the benefit of meditation, but also spirituality. So a study came out in July, which I have linked on Eat, Burn, Sleep. Whenever interesting studies come out, I add them, showing that patients with a spirituality practice had higher chances of a positive outcome in the remission of their health condition.
Absolutely.
So we tap into neuroplasticity, we tap into this higher self to better our physical being.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the power of belief, power of hope, power is another word we overuse on Instagram or social media, wellness, intuition, and manifesting. These are actually not just like hashtag words. These are truths. So I work at a mental health hospital, so I teach inpatients in psychiatric wards how to meditate. It's one of the most challenging work I do. But you can see patients who has religious beliefs, not that religion in itself is a magic power, but when they truly believe there is a higher being, there is something else apart from the daily grind, apart from the condition they're currently being treated for, they have hope, they have that guidance. Actually, you can call it by whatever name. That's your inner divine. That's your inner goddess. That's your inner God. If you go through history, the externalization of God and the divine only happens around the 17th century when religion becomes more institutionalized. Prior to that, God has always been within. Jesus said, God is within. God is everywhere. God is within. And so does Buddha. The divine is within. You are your own best teacher. We hear that from gurus over and over again. Whether you register that or not is quite another matter, because we as human beings love to externalize things. Our happiness comes from getting stuff. Our enlightenment comes from getting the right guru. Our enlightenment comes from going to 25-pound yoga classes and getting really expensive products with oils and everything to help us get there. But actually, ultimately, at the end of the day, you are your own best teacher. You are your own best healer. And you get there because you tap into whatever that's within.
It's so true. You know, it reminds me, I know it's completely off topic, but it reminds me of that. I went through a difficult breakup a few years ago, and the person was really unkind to me, really unkind. And I thought to myself...
Name him.
No, actually, I'm still nice to him. When I bump into him in the street, I smile, and he feels bad. He looks down.
Far more evolved.
No, I'm not. I'm evolved now because I wasn't before. That's why.
Okay.
I've learned the hard way. We're all
process.
humans. But so when this happened, what he did was absolutely terrible.
Oh, God.
And it was a time where I needed my partner to be there. And not only he wasn't there, but he betrayed me at the moments where I needed him the most. So what I decided to do is to meditate like crazy. Beautiful things.
Good.
So I kept going through my gratefulness prayers of I'm so lucky for this, I'm so lucky for that, I'm so lucky for that. I kept listing all the things I'm grateful for every day.
Amazing.
But I was doing it slightly hysterically, like 3-4 times a day.
But the thing is, isn't that your inner guidance tell you to do that?
So I decided to do that because I thought after what he's done, I will not give him a reaction. So whenever
the higher road.
Whenever I wanted to grab my phone and text him, I would
we know that temptation.
Yes, I was like, no, I can't lower myself to his level. I kept doing it. And also, you know, I was on holidays with my children.
Of course.
I was like, I am not going to spoil my time with my kids.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I kept doing these like slightly hysterically. It's the best holiday I've ever had with my children.
Fantastic.
In fact, they wrote me these beautiful thank you letters with amazing drawings and all of that. They were quite younger.
Wonderful.
No one could see that I was going through a hard time because I kept telling myself, it's one of the highest points of happiness in my life.
Great.
And everybody was like, what have you done? You're glowing. You look
the inner
so
glow.
happy.
Yes.
From the
amazing.
thoughts when I had just been let down in the worst possible manner. And if he listens, he'll probably know it's him.
Okay.
And
she's doing really well, by the way.
But the reason why I'm sharing this is when someone does something to you that you feel wrongs you, there are two ways to go about it. You can either play the victim and go, I was going through a difficult thing in my life. This person has betrayed me on top of what I was going through that I had to deal with, blah, blah, blah. Or you can count your blessings. And I kept counting my blessings all day long. And that lifted me much higher than I was expecting.
That is such a great story to share. That's the power of thought, of you basically, your energy goes where your attention goes. That's exactly what you did. And the betrayal is painful, and how people prolong that betrayal, turn pain into suffering, is to replay that in their head over and over again. That's the suffering. And your inner divine, your inner teacher basically tell you, that's it. I'm not going to suffer. That was the pain. I had it. Now it's time for me to move on. That's great, because most people, most mental health issues come from the fact that they turn the pain, which is inevitable in your day-to-day life. Something will happen. Your car crashes. Someone was rude to you. There's a work colleague that's toxic. Something will always happen, but you turn it into pain. You turn it into suffering, anxiety, depression, by having that replay in your head over and over again. And the power of meditation is actually for you to watch that, be aware of that. And then, like you can turn that into an active manifestation exercise, saying, I am better than this. I have so many good things coming my way. And it displays thoughts. And when we're talking about displacement of thoughts, I'm going to go on a tangent a bit. That's one of the streams of meditation is TM, tantric meditation. And that's one of the things the Beatles discovered when they go to India in the 60s. And there's Maharishi Mahesh. And that's exactly displacement of thought. So this guru they meet basically give them a mantra. So this mantra could be, I'm a happy tomato. And they chant this over and over again. What the guru didn't tell the Beatles is basically he gives the same 5 mantras to everyone he meets. It's not the mantra itself, it's the displacement of thought. It's allowing you to pay attention to something that's positive, enriching, peaceful, equanimous, and then you reach that state because you're thinking that all the time rather than going on and on about that man who wronged me or that situation from work. Isn't that just the most powerful thing? And there's no medication involved. There's no external factors involved. It's just you. You are your own best healer.
But what I didn't even allow myself to think of him because I was like, I'm not giving him any airtime in my head. So whenever I was thinking of the experience, I would do the meditations.
No wonder you're doing so much of it.
I was like, no airtime for this person. Fantastic. But coming back to TM, I did TM a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it worked fantastically at the beginning. And then I started going back to, the everyday grind and the mantra stopped working.
Do you know why the mantra stopped working? This is very common. A, because you stop feeling the mantra because it just becomes a bunch of meaningless words because you repeat it so often. It's not because it loses power. It's because you get bored. You just wash away. I mean, it's just basically you're not engaged with the words anymore. You're just doing it like mechanically.
That's how I felt.
And then you're just repeating. So over time, there's always plus and minuses with these meditation techniques. That's the downside of TM. It's very effective, immediately get people to that place, which is very nice. But over time, people do tune out. So you're just basically checking out when you should be like really tuning in and drawing the gaze inwards and finding stillness. It just doesn't happen. So that's the other side of TM. But then that means that it's time for you to move on. There's other ways to get from A to B. Time to get on another way to do it. So obviously you found it.
Yeah. So Athena, I'm really interested in what you mentioned about working with people with mental health conditions.
Yes.
So, and what you said also about the fact that when they believe they do better, there are studies showing that people with depression, if they believe they're going to get better, let me rewind. I forgot what the percentage is exactly, but the majority of people at some point in their life will experience symptoms of depression. Those who fall into depression are generally more prone to thinking things are not going to get better. Mm-hmm. When people think things will get better, they have a higher chance of coming out of that little depressive state.
Yes.
So with your work with mental health patients, and I'm sure you see people with schizophrenia and other, bipolar hallucinations, things like that. And hallucinations have been shown actually to be a playback of traumas. Yes.
A lot, yes.
I'm sure they're given, a lot of therapy, and therapy can be replaying the trauma.
Absolutely, because they're talking about it.
Yeah.
So at the hospital, because all our brains are so different, and we mentioned this briefly before we started the podcast, all our brains are unique because We grow up in different ways. Our conditioning are different. Our diet is different. Our movement is different. Our culture is different. So we're wired in very many different ways. So when patients come with a diagnosis, come with a condition, we started giving them everything and see what works. Of course, there are protocols. Certain medications are given for certain symptoms, conditions, but then they are exposed to all sorts of therapies to see what sticks, because we can't, much as science has moved on, a lot of what happens inside the brain is still we don't understand. Yeah. So, and why is your brain different to mine? Because we have different upbringing, we read different books, we watch different TV, or we had a bad night's sleep. It changes even within ourselves, like from day to day, month to month. So I see a big range. When I walked into a room at the mental health hospital I teach in. So we have section 2, which is the court mandated that you have to go into a mental health institution to get well. We have like people who are actively serving in the army. We have the contract from the government. We have people with bipolar, schizophrenia, eating disorder. We have self-harming. We have depression, anxiety. And this is a common theme. When I have new students in the room, once we started doing breath work and going into meditation, I always tell them a story. This is a story a lot of meditation teacher teaches because it happens to them. So during one of my very first meditation teacher training, you can call it that, but we're just basically practicing with the monks in the temple near Bhutan. The little monks start really young. They start at the age of 7 or 8. So it's like going to school for them. So they're normal kids, like really happy running around. And one of the little ones asked my teacher one day, and he said, "Teacher, what happens inside you when you meditate?" And my teacher answered, "It's like having 2 wolves fighting inside me. One wolf is full of light, full of joy, full of good things, equanimous, peaceful, calm. The other wolf is dark, menacing, full of rage, sadness, regrets, anger. Yeah, so the 2 wolves are fighting inside me." And the child asked him, "Hey, come on, which wolf is going to win then?" And my teacher answered, "The one I feed." So my first question to my students is, which wolf are you feeding? So just notice. The whole practice is just notice which wolf are you feeding? And that comes back to the belief system. So when you have positive beliefs, most religious beliefs are there's a God above looking after you, you have guardian angels, or other religion, you have ancestors that's looking after you on the other side. There's positive energy, there's a divine somewhere, or whatever it is, allow whatever you call it. When you have that thought, you have that you're feeding the good wolf. That is part of the good wolf. So again, paying attention to where your thoughts are. Feed the good thoughts. Don't feed the bad wolf. So, yeah, I think that is how I would present it normally to my students. So that's why having positive beliefs, having that manifestation exercise, the underlying theme is the same. It's just your thoughts becomes your actions, becomes your reality. So what you think matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And from a physiological standpoint, negative thoughts, worry, anxiety raises cortisol levels. You raise your cortisol levels, you impair your digestive system. 70%, because when you have elevated cortisol, that switches on your sympathetic nervous system and shuts down the parasympathetic nervous system, so your rest and digest slows down. 70% of your immune system cells, gut-associated lymphoid tissue, are in the gut. So if you're stressed, your gut motility is impacted, motility is impacted, immune system is impacted. You trigger chronic inflammation.
Exactly.
And you fuel the genes that you're carrying for anxiety or depression. So all these major mental diseases are linked to chronic inflammation.
Absolutely. You go into that vicious cycle, basically. Yeah.
And you can switch your inflammatory processes with many things. Lack of sleep, stress, inflammatory foods, lack of exercise or excess exercise, any form of pain, and of course, lack of light, structure, everything. We're affected by all these things. And it's wonderful that in mental health hospitals, they're bringing people like you.
Yeah. And I've been teaching there for a while now. So it's widely acknowledged, which is very nice for me, as a validation from science, a validation from doctors and practitioners saying that meditation facilitated properly, practiced properly, actually helps because they see patients getting better, their prognosis become better, their symptoms become better, their dosage of medication required become less as they stay, which is wonderful. So that's exactly what they want to do. Even though it's a private hospital, is actually one of the top mental health hospitals in London. For them, their goal is the well-being of the patient. They don't want to keep them longer than necessary. So they have a long list. I mean, sadly, we do have a long list of people who needs that space. So whatever works. So they said, look, this works. Maybe we don't understand it 100%. We can do brain scans, seeing that which part of the brain gets switched on and off and what kind of meditation technique works or not work. We want the results. So it's outcome matters. So when we see positive outcomes, there's no reason not to have it.
That's amazing. Maybe I should go and talk to them about dietary changes.
Oh, yes, that's a big one right now.
Yeah.
I mean, what you eat really affects you.
Yeah, massively.
And I could see that in patients. I can see that in my students. Well, I mean, we know it ourselves. If you have a big night out, I mean, your sleep goes out of the window. The next day you are thinking dark thoughts, basically.
But what's very hard, particularly for people with mental health issues, is so whatever your health issue is, changing your lifestyle is very hard, because although you need it the most, that's when you're not thinking straight, basically. Mm-hmm. And I was definitely in that place. So when I see people who have struggles and they struggle to change, I understand. But interestingly, that's when you need it the most. Mm-hmm. And for people with mental health issues, even more so. Because at the beginning you cut out sugar, you get withdrawals. Yeah. You cut out inflammatory foods, you get withdrawals, and you need support. But I've had fantastic results with people with depression who came off medication after 20 years by changing, but not just their foods, their thoughts, and being very proactive in, going to meditation classes on top of the dietary changes. Yeah.
And that doesn't get mentioned very often, because it's all very well when people go to mental health institutions, mental health hospitals, they just, get all this help and they seem well, they're on medication, they leave. Then what happens? You go back to your old life, you go back to all the triggers and all the situation that took you to that place in the first place, you go back to that lifestyle. So you need a 360 change. And that's where I see most of the growth. That's why I could hardly teach public classes anymore, because afterwards, it's like brushing your teeth. You don't stop brushing your teeth just because you don't have a cavity anymore. Yeah. So every single practice, everything we've discussed is like brushing your teeth. I can't go out into the world without having done my practice. I'm just not that nice. So
that's amazing, though. Yeah. That's the way you're explaining it. It's exactly right. And it's the same with, lifestyle changes. You keep doing it. But yes, I mean, to come back to what you were saying about medication, when I was in nutrition school, I wrote a 28-page paper on depression. Oh my goodness. I was given an assignment. I decided, because my specialty is inflammatory bowel disease, bloating, digestive, IBS, IBD, I thought, I want to write a paper about something I don't know much about, so I can learn. I'm not going to write about what I know already. And so I picked depression. Mm-hmm. I was shocked at the number of studies that show the link between inflammation and depression. Mm-hmm. One even said that inflammation is like a switch when it comes to depression. Absolutely. And during that research work, I found one and then several others about medication. Mm-hmm. So when you put somebody on antidepressants, 18 months later, about 50% of patients report feeling no better. Yeah, very, very true. And the reason for that is because immune system dysregulation and chronic inflammation can create medication resistance. Yeah. Absolutely. And I thought that was fascinating. And then you have other studies showing, for example, that over the long run, dietary changes, lifestyle changes, exercise in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months really beat antidepressants.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it takes longer. And when you do lifestyle changes with the way you think, the way you eat, the way you sleep, and all of that together, it's hard at the beginning, but the longer you go, the more benefits you get.
Yes.
It goes increasingly. When medication, oftentimes, it decreases
in effectiveness. Yes, you have to get over the hump. And the hump is the hardest because you go, oh, I'm meditating, nothing is happening. It's actually really hard sitting there with my thoughts. It's actually killing me. I mean, Athena, this is awful. Again, while you're your best healer, you're your own worst tormentor as well. Our worst torment we inflict to ourselves. Not that we're victim blaming or patient blaming, but notice that. And then once you get into the virtuous cycle, and that's where people like you or me comes in, because we help them to get over that hump. And then you realize, okay, I'm actually in control of all of this. I'm actually the determination of everything that happens around me, how I feel, how I present to the world. But getting over that hump is a Herculean task. So I applaud what you do. And it's multifaceted because we have 360-degree being. I get really nervous when students come to me saying, oh, breath work really helps. I was like, well, do you just practice with your lungs? You're more than your lungs. Or someone coming to me, oh, I changed my diet and this really helps. I was like, well, you're not just your gut either. Even the gut is your second brain.
Nice.
And then they say, oh, this meditation technique really helps. I was like, wow, that's just one facet of you. Remember, you are a multifaceted creature. You're part of nature. There's so many facets of you that needs to come into alignment, and then you're in a good place. I know it sounds like a terrible amount of work, but that's essentially why you have so many people that comes in, because it tackles different facets of our very fascinating and multifaceted being. So that's the work.
Yeah, and this is why I always tell people don't aim for perfection, otherwise you drive yourself crazy.
Oh, imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine.
You drive yourself crazy and it's not attainable and it's an extreme thing. So what would be your 3 tips for if there were 3 things that you would give to somebody who has never heard about gong baths, who has heard about meditation but doesn't practice it.
Mm-hmm. Curious.
To someone who's curious and wants to implement positive changes in their lives, 3 advice or practical tips that you could give them.
That's a big one. I think having the curiosity is already the first step. They said the teacher appears when the student is ready. So when you have the curiosity, stay having an open mind. Try everything. Of course, we always ask our friends, oh, you look great. What helps you? You look like you've really gone round the bend. What helps you? Look for everything. And even when they say, oh, I try this thing that really doesn't work, do try it. Maybe it's a different practitioner. Maybe it's just have an open mind. And I'm forever thankful to that friend who dragged me to my first sound meditation. If I haven't gone, nothing would have happened.
Yeah.
So just go. What's the worst that could happen? You lose an hour of your time. Okay, I know an hour is really precious, but at least you know what doesn't work. So open mind. Secondly is just tap into your own inner self. I mean, another overused word in social media right now is your intuition. #intuition. It's like awful, but your intuition is like you. When you went through that awful phase when you were betrayed by someone you really count on and have your heart, you intuitively know that this is not the time. I'm not going to turn this pain into suffering. I'm going to do my positive manifestation. I'm going to do my gratitude practice. Listen to your intuition, because sometimes those are the best guidance you can get. No one can feel what you feel. No one is in your body. Mm-hmm. It's like doctors know that. Doctors know they don't know your body as well as you do, even though the medical profession sometimes train them out of that. But good doctors, good practitioners, good healers know that you are your best healer, doctor. So listen to your intuition. And thirdly is really basic stuff. The best things, I mean, I know a lot of people is going to like, this is so obvious. Spend some time in nature. Make sure you get some daylight. Go out, have a walk. That already is transformational. A lot of people actually during the pandemic say, okay, actually life wasn't so bad when they have that 30 minutes and make themselves go out and walk their new puppy or whatever. Actually, that little walk, what happens? You meet people. And you might talk to people, especially if you're walking the dog. That gives you social connection, which has shown to be giving you more positive life outcomes than many things when you have community, social interactions, meaningful social interactions. Secondly, gives you purpose. You go out, have a walk. You connect, gives you daylight. It connects you back to nature, gives you that moment when you're walking. Hopefully you're not like, well, if you're listening to this podcast, it's great. But hopefully you're not distracted. You're just like basically in the moment. You're being present. It's a kind of meditation. Walking is a meditation. We do walking meditation too when we're practicing, but that's a different story altogether. So just spend 30 minutes, go to the park, have a walk. 3 things.
I love that. Walking for me is healing. I go to the park every day.
Good for you. We are in the...
Because I have a dog.
Oh,
and
yes.
she keeps me sane.
Absolutely.
There are days I wake up in a funny mood and I go to the park, even just to walk her half an hour. I come back.
Oh.
I'm a different person. I'm experiencing everything you're saying now. It's transformational.
It is. Yes.
Yeah.
And I love, when you have pets, you understand why animals don't have mental health issues. They're forever present. They don't judge you. They don't hold grudges. You forget to feed me yesterday. You were late for my walk. They don't have expectations. Whatever happens now, yay, this is great.
It's so true.
Yeah, I know. So much true joy can be found in little things.
Athena, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here with us.
Thank you for having me. Such great joy to talk to you.
Make sure to go and follow Athena on Instagram. It's at the Gong Girl.
The Gong Girl in one word.
In one word. I will be sharing more details about her in the description box. And thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Yelda. It's been a true joy and a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, Athena, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to share it and to subscribe. If you are ready to become the best version of you, use the code PODCAST15, PODCAST15 for 15% discount on the Eat, Burn, Sleep memberships. Available on eatburnsleep.com.